What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Parker Byrd, and today we have an incredible guest, and I'm so excited for you guys to hear his story and his mindset. Someone whose career and mindset have impacted athletes all over the world. Brendan Geyer spent 7 years in the Major League Baseball, played in the World Series, and has the nickname the hit by pitch king because of his fearless way that he competed. But what makes Brandon truly special is what comes next after his baseball career. He took everything that he learned, the adversity, the preparation, the pressure of being in the big leagues, and turned it into a mission to help athletes build what he calls the major league mindset. Today, we're going to dive into his story, the mental tools that changed his career, and how athletes at every single level compete with a purpose, compete with confidence, and can compete with resilience. Brandon, man, it's an honor to have you on the show, and thank you for being here.
Dude, it's an honor of mine. And when you jumped on mine and I got to talk to you and meet you and hear your story, I was grateful that you asked me to
Mm-hmm.
come on here and all the work you're doing. So I appreciate that introduction and glad to be here.
Of course, man. It's an honor. Looking back on your baseball journey and the incredible years that obviously you spent in the major league, what moments realized that that you had a real shot of being a big leaguer? In youth baseball, what was there a moment that you're like, man, I'm have a real chance at making it to the bigs?
That's a great question. I would have to say it wasn't until senior year of high school because I don't know if you know my story, if we talked about it, but my first 3 years at Herndon High School in Northern Virginia, very below average baseball
Mm-hmm.
player. As a junior, I hit 270, and more so than anything, Parker, is I had no emotional control. I feared failure, so I try to avoid it. I was an overthinker, a perfectionist. I couldn't slow the game down to big moments. I would in high school, my first 3 years, hope my teammates would get out so I didn't have to hit in big situations and not come through.
Dang, yeah.
Probably worst of all my self-worth was tied to who I was as a ball player. So when I struggled those first 3 years, I was just lost off the field and kind of just miserable. And then heading into senior year, a coach said, Brandon, like, you know, if you have the dream of playing in the big leagues and or at least the next level college, and well, it's going to be over. He was just blunt. It's going to be over if you don't do something and change something with your mindset. So I started to look into it. It wasn't talked about a lot back then, early 2000. But 2003, heading into my senior year in 2004, I started to look into it, read some books, train it, and apply it, and things like the breaths, reset
Mm-hmm.
routines, pre-game routine, pre-pitch routine, journaling, gratitude, those kind of things. Like these were, because you mentioned tools earlier, like those were just tools that I started to use that I was finally able to just get to all that potential stuck inside of me. And I went out senior year and went off, and colleges finally started talking to me. So to get back to your answer or your question, my answer would be that senior year of high school is the first time I really realized maybe I can be a big leaguer,
Mm-hmm.
because I finally just showed up consistently like the player I knew I could.
That's good. And I believe that you were drafted 3 times before actually signing. Is that correct?
No, I was only drafted as a junior
Oh,
out of
really?
University of
Okay.
Virginia.
Yeah. How did you talked about the early stages of your career of the like the fear of failure. How did you initially get over that? Because I feel like really in today's youth and baseball, like mindset is being taught a lot more than obviously whenever you were playing, and even whenever I was a kid. Like mindset is definitely a bigger thing in the game now. What was the main thing that you focused on whenever you were making that transition to being, hey, I'm gonna be this mentally strong player?
Yeah, there's a couple different things. I mean, the easiest, and it's kind of a basic thing that you heard that I'm sure a lot of your listeners have heard, it's control the controllables. I was so focused on the uncontrollables, the end result, what other people think, umpires, this and that. So it just controlled me and it lived rent free in my head. So then I just went all in with what I could control, my responses to adversity, my attitude, my body language, my breath, my present moment focus, my preparation. And I found that when I can thought about that and made that my scoreboard, well, then a lot of that pressure, that anxiety, that fear would melt away, especially the fear of failure. And then really what I did, it's a concept called win or learn. I didn't make it up, but I was taught like, hey, Brandon, approach competition like it's win or it's learn. You're either going to win and be successful, or hey, if you're not, failure's feedback, it's data. Like use that data to help you make adjustments to win in the future. So in a way, we can make it win or win. So that was it. Really, Parker, accepting that life's not supposed to be easy. I have a big sign on my wall. It's not supposed to be easy, and
I
I
love
think I
that.
was just resisting it. I was resisting the hard times, the I call it battling of dragons, the challenges, the obstacles. I was the failures. I was resisting. I was being a victim. Why is this happening? This I'm doing everything I need to. This isn't fair. This person's getting results. He's getting blue pits and everything. I'm hitting the ball hard right at people. This isn't fair. This and that. So I was resisting. So like the pain that is inevitable for all of us, well, yeah, that was there, but I was suffering way more than I needed to. And that can be very optional, but I just was being the victim. Now I call it no BCM, blaming, complaining, making excuses. So I was a lot of BCM, a lot of
Hmm.
blaming, a lot of complaining, a lot of making excuses. And, when things weren't going good, I became less committed to my routines and my protocol. Well, what if we can get to the point where I was taught it's called emotional stamina, where the worse things are going, the greater our commitment is.
That's good.
And it's very hard to do. And it's kind of just, it's a skill we have to develop. And I think combining all of those is what helped me get over failure. And once again, I mean, you know this. The best of the best, I think, are just the best at failing. They don't want to. But when we get to the point where you said resiliency earlier, which is great, Parker, and getting to where we're resilient is hard. Like it takes a lot of work. But I was taught this, the great Nassim Taleb wrote a book called Anti-Fragile. And so he says you can be resilient and basically bounce back quicker than most, or you can be the opposite of fragile, the furthest end of the spectrum, and be anti-fragile, be unbreakable. You don't bounce back, you bounce forward stronger. You don't act, you just withstand, you actively benefit from
Mm,
failure, from pressure, from
that's
fear,
good.
from adversity. So becoming an AA, an anti-fragile athlete, I feel like really helped me just say, bring it on, failure,
Yeah.
bring it on, great times, and just if we can approach it all, love it all, accept it all. I know it's a long way to answer your question, but I think
No, that's
those are
good
the
though.
things that help me become better at handling failure.
Yeah, 100%. And you made those adjustments, I mean, pretty early on. I know high school, a little bit later in high school, but I mean, that's still early for an advanced player. But what adjustments were made whenever you went into a major league clubhouse? Was there like a big switch from, high school, college, and all that to being a major leaguer and in that clubhouse?
Oh yeah, I'll tell you what. Early on as a rookie in the big leagues, it's a challenge. Like all of a sudden you're on the same team or you're on the same field of players
Hmm.
you looked up to growing up. Like
Yeah, which is
Jeter,
incredible.
Poppy,
Right.
A-Rod, these guys, and like this kind of imposter syndrome, this kind of feeling like, do I belong here? Like, yeah, it's like your dream, but then you get there and it's like, man, there's a lot of different feelings, and that's where I just had to fall back on the mindset stuff and really just okay, focus on me, don't focus on other people. What can I do every single day to be as prepared mentally and physically, and just fall back on that and let that be my reason to believe in myself while I'm standing here and facing pictures that I, grew up watching on
Yeah.
TV and that kind of stuff. So it was a lot going on there, but man, it always, man, it comes back to the process over outcome mentality and control the controllable stuff that you and a lot of your listeners I'm sure have heard before, but these things are simple in theory, harder in practice. And the more we can really be obsessed with that stuff and always keep it top of mind, the better off we're going to be. So I just had to really hyper focus on those things right there and craft this new identity, this new version of me. Like, I'm a big leaguer and thinking like, yeah, I'm on the field with A-Rod and these guys, but I'm better than them. I deserve to be here. I've earned the right. And I had to do that to really just feel like when I stepped on that field, um, I had what it took to come through the best in the world.
Yeah, and you talked about comparison just now, and I've realized that really throughout my journey of going back and becoming, a new ball player, essentially, that the comparison, it steals your joy, but it also steals your focus of where you actually are, because everybody's timeline's different, right? Like, you know, you're a major leaguer, but A Rod might have been there 10 years, and if you're comparing that, then it steals the focus of where you are. And I had to learn that in my life, that I need to stop comparing myself to these other athletes that are further along in their process, and realize that they were where I was at one point, and that they focused on where they were, and that's how they got to where they were. And once I
Mhm.
switched that in my mind, it was like, okay, how can I become the best version of myself rather than how can I be somebody else? And I think I wish I learned that in high school, and I learned that as an able-bodied baseball player, because the comparison's so real out there nowadays, especially with all the perfect game and all these rankings that come out. You can compare like, hey, I'm 200th now rather than 150. Like, I've dropped 50 spots, but in reality, you might be a better baseball player. They don't know. So I remember in high school,
Mhm.
man, I would write down these rankings that I was, not for like, hey, like bragging reasons. It was like, it would motivate me. It would be like, man, I'm not the best yet according to other
Mhm.
people. So that I would
Mhm.
literally have a whiteboard of where I was ranked, and I would use it as motivation, and that became my why. Right? That's why I got up every morning, was to be the best version of myself, but I let other people's opinions validate what I believed. And I wish I could
Mhm.
go back and kind of understand, like, focus on yourself rather than comparing to other people.
Yeah, dude, spot on. Very well said. And it's another that's easy to, in concept and theory, it's easy to say it, but it's harder to actually do it. But it's
Mm-hmm.
just normal feelings of being a human being,
Definitely.
and I think when we can, I tell athletes, let's play the comparison game, but let's compare it against the prior version of us that we
Mm,
are better than, and the future version of us that we aspire to become. Because I think,
that's
yeah, the
good.
achieving is cool and all, but it's not about that. It's about the becoming. And when we're becoming and doing the work that's in integrity with the version of us we want to become, and that future version of us, that connection is super strong, well, then our present moment actions are going to be more in line with that. And then we act it and we live it, we become it. And so playing that comparison game, I think is a very good thing to do.
Yes.
And it
100%.
comes back to identity. Like, identity literally means repeated beingness. So who are we repeatedly being? So crafting strong identities. And remember I said at the beginning here, like, in high school, I struggled a lot with self-worth and really identity. It was only as a baseball player. So when that was struggling, my overall just I was lost off the field. So how can we create, I like to think, two different identities? An identity of the best version of us on the field, and the identity of the best version of us off the field. And then I like to think with players, let's change clothes and change identities. So when we go, like what you're wearing right now,
Showering
you go
well.
to the field and
Yep.
shower well.
Yep.
And you go to the field, you're getting out of your street clothes, you're putting on your uniform, kind of flipping that switch into that version of you as a ball player, like this alter ego, whatever it is that just amplify. It's you, but it's an amplified, competitive, hungry, aggressive, bring it on version of you.
Yeah.
And then, for me after games, whether it was 0 for 4, 2 for 4, put on my clothes. Okay, my wife and kids are waiting for me in the family area. Time to flip the switch when I put my jeans and shirt on into a loving and present husband and father. And that way we don't carry the stuff. We kind of
Yes.
learn, whether it's journaling and reflecting on competition, we learn and we turn. You said shower well. These little concepts go a long way so that it doesn't translate. the on field comes off the field. Then we have more self-compassion. We enjoy things more because this is what it's all about, Parker. You know
Hmm.
this. How can we have more enjoyment and skyrocket our performance? It's not, okay, yeah, I'm going to do everything. It's going to be a grind. It might not be, that much fun, but yeah, my performance will go up. We can also get the other part. We can enjoy it too. We can create the consciousness to where we connect with and express the best version of ourselves on a consistent basis. But it takes work. It takes daily disciplines. It takes the creating the identity-based habits. Once again, that future version of you want to become would do.
Hmm.
So it all starts with we got to determine what that process and protocol is, and then just have the discipline and pay the price to do it every single day. And then great things happen. It's like the universe sends opportunities,
Hmm.
sprinkles on some luck. Still going to be hard, going to be a grind, but now we have everything we need to handle that storm of life.
Yeah, that's good. With journaling, what did you do when you were, at your best? What journaling did you do, like post game, pre game? What were your routines in that?
Great question. It's definitely changed now to what it was when I was playing, but pregame, I always like to pick. I said it earlier, controllable. I wanted to
Hmm.
pick one that maybe I'm struggling with recently and make that my main focus, make that my scoreboard. So maybe it was responses to umpires. Maybe
Hmm.
it was attitude when I'm starting the game 0 for 2. Maybe it was just body language. A lot of times it often came back to the breath, even though I would wear this wristband that says
Hmm.
Stitch Breathe. I don't know if you can see that.
Hmm.
I would have it
Yeah.
as a constant reminder when I would wear it. But still, it's one of those things during competition, you can forget to do the very things that you train because you're in a hostile environment and whatnot. So like I believe when we set the intention, our attention is then more apt to be on it, and our brain's going to look to do the very things we do when we write them down and plant them in our brain. So set the intention, attention follows. So my intention a lot of times were the controllables. I wanted to make my scoreboard, and that way I could guarantee success every competition. Because if I am going in and I'm determining this, which is in my control, determines my success, well, then great. I could be a psychological success every single game. And then if I'm a psychological success, great chance the external is going to come as a
Hmm.
byproduct of that. So I would write that what controllables I wanted to dominate. Then I would write down my reset routine that I would go to just so it's fresh. And then the last thing I would do is I would try to create some positive energy, and I write down 3 things I'm grateful for
That's awesome.
to really get that going before I would go out. Then I would like to watch a mental movie, kind of like a highlight reel of myself
Yeah.
just to prime my mind with confidence. And then basically, I'm a big flip the switch guy. I'd flip the switch into my alter ego, which was a hungry lion.
I love it.
And then I'd go out there, do the warm up, and time to compete.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I have to ask you, is there any stories that like that the major league fan doesn't know about, like inside the clubhouse? What's like one great story that you have?
Oh, wow. Hmm. Let me see here.
Because you
Um,
play with some guys that have some freaking humor, so I just know that
yeah.
that clubhouse had to be awesome to be inside of.
Yeah, there were a lot of good like with the Rays, Joe Madden as our manager.
Yeah.
Always kept things so loose and just chill. Then we had Terry Francona with the Indians, now Guardians, but
Hmm.
who same thing, kept it loose, kept it chill.
Yeah.
Um, I guess, man, just like a simple story because there's some not rated, maybe good for this podcast, but with the Rays what Joe would do is to keep it really loose, would do different things, different like ideas, different um, themes, and for road trips, but also for the clubhouse. And one time he brought in like zoo animals, and I this stands out to me because man, I always have had and still do somewhat a fear of snakes, and they brought in
Right.
snakes. And I remember it was a thing like just like my heart would just skip a beat and everything like this big ass snake. And I was like, I don't want to do it. Like put it over. But I was just like, you know what? I'm doing it today. I decided it. I'm doing it.
That's
So this
awesome.
isn't like a funny story, but it's like I went and did it, and it's like it did something because like when we face our fears, even little things like that,
Yeah,
it helps us with our overall belief and confidence. And um, so of all the stories, maybe I'll just
that's
go to that because
awesome,
that
though.
came to my mind first.
Man, yeah, snakes would have got me. What was the craziest animal in there that day?
Probably that.
Really?
Honestly, at least to me, it was the
Yeah,
craziest. They had
yeah,
all, the other stuff, nothing too crazy, but still to this day, snakes, just even if I see like a little
yeah.
gardener snake or
Garden
whatever, it
snake
still
over there.
freaks
Yeah,
me out, dude.
that's funny. Yeah,
You know.
I agree. What's up, guys? I want to take a quick second and thank one of today's sponsors, Children Health Services. They understand the importance of your child's well-being from the day they were born in the hospital. All the providers over there provide top-notch care. They have a new location on 10th Street, so make sure you guys go and check that out. It's really purple and looks pretty cool, and they have their old location on Arlington Boulevard. But yeah, so back to like the mindset, man. What's one tool that you would give, a young baseball player, a high school baseball player out there today that changed your career but also could change theirs as well?
Hmm. Um, that's a great question. There's so many tools. I like to think like, how can we give, or how can we as athletes have like a toolkit? Like we have tools ready at hand that boom, in this moment you can use this. My easy answer would be the breath. I think it's the number one mental tool. It's something, it's so basic, but so many people take it for granted, and there's a right and wrong way to do it. That I don't want to give the easy answer though, but like as you know, like I have it written, it's on this wristband. Like the breath is that. Um, I'm gonna go with a different tool, and the tool I'm gonna go with is something I was called targeted thinking. And it's at any given moment during competition or outside of competition, when we things aren't going our way and we're kind of disconnected from our best self, it's in the moment we ask ourselves two questions. What do I want? And what do I need to do to get what I want? Simple, basic, but a lot of times, and this certainly is me if I'm not careful, and when I was playing and before I started doing all this, we don't slow down enough. We get reactionary rather than responsive, and we just that spiral keeps going because of that. So what if we can have this tool called targeted thinking, where in the moment, like the gap is widening, like who we can be and who we're actually being, there's a big gap there.
Mm-hmm.
We notice that gap. We step back, we take a deep breath. Okay, what do I want? Well, I want to feel better. I want to be in the present moment. I want to slow the game down, this and that. Okay, what do I got to do to get what I want? Well, then utilize a breath. Utilize I have reset stickers here, like, or draw a reset button on your hat, take it off,
Mm-hmm.
press it, reset. When I played, I would like to do this. I don't know if you guys can see my finger.
Mm-hmm.
I would do this like example of like a flush it routine.
Yeah.
And every team I work with now, I give them huge plastic toilet. They keep it in their dugout, and players just go and they go in and they flush it.
Flush it. Yeah.
So I guess that's three kind of tools right there,
Nah.
Parker.
Yeah.
Like
That's
targeted
good though.
thinking, and then reset, flush. But all of those tools have the breath as part of it. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. When you were playing and even still today, do you do any like breath work outside of your career or your job today? Because I know at ECU we have Inner Armor, which is
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
yeah. So we have the belts and we can see the breath and stuff, and that's how we train. And we even do the vision thing as well. So working on our convergence, divergence, and basically what it is. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like this big QR like code thing, and there's like a smaller one inside of it, and we have to like swipe the screen of like where it is, and really we have to put these glasses on. It's really two boxes that like come together, and we're like working on
Mm.
our vision and stuff. And I know guys that they swear by it, and I'm a believer in it too. But like, there's guys that it's changed their career, not only the breath work but also the vision. Is there any tools that you did during your career?
Yeah, yeah. The vision, I didn't do a whole lot. It wasn't around, I don't think, as much. Yeah, I'm interested. What's that program called or that vision training called?
So it's through Inner Armor too, and
Oh,
so
wow.
through their app they have like provision, which is the eye stuff, and then they have the breathing, and then they also have like some neurological stuff with the brain, but we haven't tapped into
Hmm.
that yet. But we really,
That's good stuff.
yeah, I know, and I know that like Kirk Cousins is a big believer in it, Brock Purdy, like all these high level athletes, and
Hmm.
I think on that quarterback documentary on Netflix, you could see Kirk Cousins' routine and how invested he was in the mental game, but also in the recovery with the breath work, the vision, and
Hmm.
like the sleep, which is a huge thing as well. So I
Mm.
once I saw that, I was like, man, like, because we like our coaches preach it and stuff, but it's different when you see high level
Yeah.
athletes doing it. You're like, man, if they're doing it and they're having
Hmm.
success, that's the real thing. So I
Yeah,
remember when they
success
came
leaves
in,
clues.
yeah, yeah, for sure, and we say that all the time. But like, I was just interested in like, what were your routines that you did off the
Hmm.
field?
Yeah, so with that sleep, I think that's the number one performance
Mm,
enhancer, hands down. And so, like, talking about routines, I think as athletes, as human beings, if we can dominate the bookends of our day, our AM and our PM, the times of the day that, well, how we start it, how we end it, and win the first 30, win the last 30, and know that a great day today started the night before with a rock solid PM routine that sets
mm,
us up for a good night of sleep. So for me, my routine, I would always like to put on the blue blocker glasses to block the
mm,
blue light so I get that melatonin production so I can fall asleep quicker and sleep better. I've trained, I've tested my sleep with like Whoop and Aura
yep,
for a decade now, and I've
really.
noticed little
So
levers we can.
you were ahead of the game with the Whoop.
Yeah, ever since. So to take this back, man, in 2011, my first big league spring training with the Tampa Bay Rays in Port Charlotte, Florida. We in spring training, man, there's a whole lot of meetings, nutrition, security, a lot of meetings and you're exhausted. It's a
Yeah.
grind. Sometimes you tend to doze off. And there was a sleep meeting one day with, I think her name was Sherry Ma from Stanford, a sleep specialist.
Mm-hmm.
She came in, and at that point in my career, this was 2011, it wasn't really talked about a lot. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like sleep is everything. It's all this, and we're always like, yeah, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like
Mm-hmm.
just outwork, keep working. Grind. But she went over studies with like Tom Brady, Federer, all of these things, and what sleep did. And I remember Parker leaving that meeting, and in my head, I said, it's not just time to continue to outbreathe the competition, out eat in a healthy way. It's time to out sleep the competition. And so from that moment forward, it was put into my brain, how can I out sleep the competition? So that's when I really work with sleep coaches. Dr. Chris Winter was my favorite. Worked with him 3 years. He was a
Wow.
Cleveland Indians sleep
Yeah.
doctor. Every time he'd come in, I would just pick his brain, probably annoy him so much because I'm trying to
I
get to
love it though.
learn the newest science and the newest little tricks and tools to really optimize sleep. And what he always would share is sleep consistency is king. And yeah, it can be hard with night games and with schedule, but the more consistent you are going to bed and waking up at the same time, that's huge. Um,
Really.
be in bed 8 to 10 hours if you can. Limit phone use 30 to 60 minutes before bed, and then have a great environment as best you can where it's dark, it's quiet, and it's cool. And having an eye mask and traveling with that, especially on road trips, was something I made sure to do. So I could go on and on about sleep, but
No, I
that I'm
love
glad
it.
you brought
Yeah.
that up. So that's sleep and having a rock solid of all the routines. I think how could we become a machine of consistency and develop a system? I'm a big system guy, and I believe a system turns success into a repeatable system. I think it's 5 routines: AM, PM, pregame, in-game, postgame. Of all of those, man, over the years, in the last 5 years working with athletes, I think the PM routine is the most important of all the routines.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone listening to that, athlete or non-athlete, dialing in the PM routine and winning the night so you can feel great, wake up and ready to dominate the next day, so huge. But back to what you said, so my routines. AM, when I played and still to this day, I always like to wake up. Key thing, get out of bed when the alarm goes off. I think that's the first mental battle of the day. And so
Yep.
the battle between the best and the worst inside of us is going on all day. And so how can we more and more consistently feed the best, starve the worst, and win those battles? So that's the first battle, win that, and try to go up 5, 6, 7, nothing over the competition within the first 30 minutes of the day. Get out of bed, make the bed, take a cold shower, gratitude practice, journaling, hydrate, eat a healthy breakfast. In my mind, I'm up 7-0 over 90+% of competition. At least this is
Mm-hmm.
how I would think during my
Yeah,
career,
yeah,
and still to this day. And so that was AM. PM already kind of went into it. The biggest thing with PM is really getting away electronics, and I call it a digital sunset, where the electronic use is done. You're not overstimulating your brain, so you can get a more deep and REM sleep. Pre-game routine. I was really fortunate with Cleveland. We had a big sleep room, and I would utilize the heck out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would always go
That's
about
awesome.
an hour before competition. Try not to go any more than like 25 minutes or so, but I would do. I think breath work is the ramp into meditation and visualization. So I would sit there for 5, 10 minutes and do just simple box breathing, to really calm my nervous system and lock me in. And then I would set my intentions for the game.
Mm-hmm.
I will control the controllables. I am grateful for all the blessings in my life. I will go one pitch at a time. I will act like a warrior when things don't go my way. And then after doing that, I would visualize. If I'm starting that day, I would think of that starter who I've seen on video, or maybe I faced them before, and I put myself in the box in different situations, and just really plant the seeds for success. So when I get out there, I've mentally rehearsed it, and
Mm-hmm.
you just feel better in the moment.
100%.
We already talked about like the journaling, the looking at the mental movie. I would always like to look at my why, my family, my wife and kids, and then flip the switch, go out there. And that's kind of like more of a mental pregame routine. Obviously, like
Mm-hmm.
hitting the cages and warm up and stuff.
Right,
So that
right.
that was there. Then in-game routines, the other part of that system. Remember AM, PM, pregame, in-game, postgame. For in-game routines, it was just two things really. It was a pre-pitch routine to win the most important time of competition, the 10 to 15 seconds in between pitches. I really would think of the pitcher, dude, there's no way you're beating me these next 10 to 15 seconds. You will not outbreathe me. You will not out self-talk me. You will not outfocus me. And that gave me confidence to be in complete control. And then whenever I started to spiral, make an error, strike out, just have a reset or flush it routine
Mm-hmm.
ready at hand to use in the moment. And then post game, we kind of already talked about that. It would be shower well, journal,
Mm-hmm.
flip the switch, change clothes, change identity, and then just go try to do my best to be a present and loving husband and father.
Yeah, that's awesome. What in your day today? How many like do you? What's your routine with sleep? Because that's one thing that my dad had preached to me from probably 10 years old, and he would always say like, look at Christian McCaffrey's dad, read into him, because he preached over Christian and Luke and all of his kids how important sleep was. So my dad is a pediatrician. He works to death, and he's probably the worst person ever to sleep, but he always told me like how important it was. So I understood how important sleep is. But in your schedule, what time do you typically go to sleep and what time do you get up?
Right now or when I played?
Just now, yeah.
Yeah, great question. So right now, I have 3 young kids, and I try to end my work day around 5. Then we have practice or a game every day with them.
Mm,
So do that. Um, I try to, because this is another thing I noticed, Parker. And when I was just down working with the University of Virginia team the other day, I had a big mental workshop with them. A lot of them wear Whoop. I'm sure you see people on your
yeah,
team wear
yeah.
Whoop and stuff. And I asked them, okay, what we went over things that could really optimize their recovery scores. And I was going to bring it up, but a lot of them said, because I've talked about it earlier, cutting or eating as far away from like your last meal, as far away from when you're going to sleep as possible. So like if you can eat
Mm,
2, 3, 4 hours, it's tough, but the
yeah,
earlier you can eat, it is mind blowing what it does for your recovery scores, your HRV,
really.
and your resting heart rate. Like crazy how your body just recovers, because it doesn't have to worry about digesting food. Now you can worry about getting that deep in REM sleep. So I just thought I'd bring that up. But I try
Yeah,
to eat a little
that's
earlier, and
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I try to eat a little earlier and then I kind of it's kind of weird, but I activate my PM routine by putting on my blue blocker glasses around 7:30 or 8. They're always somewhere I can see them all the time, so I have that trigger, that reminder. It's always on my
Mm,
kitchen counter. So I put those on. I put a nasal dilator on to really help with breathing during sleep. I have mouth tape I put on. So yeah, it looks
I
funny
love
when
it,
I'm
dude.
sleeping, but hey,
I
I'm
love
sleeping
it.
good. My
I
wife's like, "What
dude,
the heck?" Then
that's
I have an eye
awesome.
mask. So eye mask, nasal dilator, my mouth's covered. It's pretty funny. And then to answer your question, I try to go to bed around 9.
Okay.
Now late games, late practices, it's
Hmm.
challenging. I try to go to bed at 9. My body typically naturally will wake up around 4:30 to 5:30 in that
Yeah.
time. But I know if I'm going to bed around 9, I'm getting I'm in bed. Like the key here, I think, is in bed 8 to 10 hours if you can be, because we're not going to obviously sleep that whole time. We're going to
Right.
falling asleep, tossing and turning, going to the bathroom. Um, so that's when I typically go to bed. It's challenging with
That's
family,
awesome.
but that's what I do.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Last question before we wrap up, but what is one book whenever you really got into the mental game? What is one book that you really read and like you're like, man, this changed my mindset?
Um, so there's a couple. I'm
Yeah.
looking at books on my little desk right here. So there's a couple. I'm gonna save the most important one I feel like for last. Um, the first I'm gonna say is just an author's name because he has a whole like series. His name's Darren Donnelly,
Okay.
and it's called like a Sports for the Soul series. And they're fables, but dude, Parker, they're the best books. So one's Think Like a Warrior, there's Victory Favors the Fearless, there's Relentless Optimism, there's The Turnaround, and it's kind of each one is a different sport.
Right.
And I honestly I cannot recommend Darren Donnelly's books enough. They're
That's
amazing for
awesome.
the mental game.
Yeah, yeah.
The other one is you know, his name's Brian Johnson. It's a book called Arete. Arete means excellence. It means deeper meaning, express the best version of yourself. So he wrote, and he's I've been fortunate. He's been my life coach the past 5 or so years. And he wrote, it's a brick of a book, but each chapter is like a page. So I usually gift it to the teams I work with. And what I tell them is, and they all to a man usually say, this is my mental strength Bible. And what I tell them to do, don't read it like a book. Read it, like flip open to just a random page. Takes 2 minutes, read that page. That's all you got to do. If you want to read more, you can, but that's just it for that day. Super
Yeah.
simple. And it's what he does is he combines ancient wisdom with modern science.
That's
And
cool.
it's just like ancient Stoic philosophers with modern positive psychologists and philosophers. And the wisdom is crazy in there. Like I said, Mental Strength Bible. So Darren Donnelly books or the book Arete by Brian Johnson are the ones I would recommend the most.
That's awesome, man. I like to end with some rapid fire questions. Does that go with you?
Yeah, bring it
Let's
on.
do it. Let's do it. All right. First one. Who is the most mentally player that you play with?
Mentally like locked
Like,
in and
yeah, locked in.
um I have to say Francisco Lindor.
Ah, let's go.
Just locked
Hard
in.
all
Yeah.
the time.
Sorry. Yeah.
Smiling. No, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Hardest pitcher that you face in your career.
There's a lot. This is a little longer answer, not
No,
super
you're
long,
good.
but I think the toughest for whatever reason I can never figure out, and just was uncomfortable was Dylan Betances, the
Okay.
right-hander for the Yankees,
Yeah.
like 6'9", and I would
Yeah.
just always buckle on his curveballs. But the guy, so I was a platoon hitter for the majority of my career, like righty hitter. My job was to do damage against lefties, or
Right.
I'm not playing. And so for the majority, a lot of years there, I was one of the top platoon players in all of Major League Baseball. But
Right.
one lefty I could never figure out. His name was CC Sabathia, and
Yeah.
as everyone I'm sure has heard of him, a Hall of Famer. I was like 1 for 30 something off CJ and or CC, and it was like no matter what I did, it was like early on in the career when he was throwing super hard. I
Yeah.
would always ground out to Derek Jeter at shortstop. Like I could change my approach to everything. I would just always ground roll over. And then later in his career, he didn't throw as hard, but he would be throwing the cutters in, changeups away, and I would still do the same thing. Like it was just like he was just the guy I could never figure out.
Well, you're not alone in that regards. I feel like he's a Hall of Famer because a lot of people couldn't figure him out.
Yeah,
That's
no, he's
awesome.
pretty good. He's like a
What
lineman coming at you. He's so
literally?
big, you know. Yeah.
That's awesome. What is your favorite ballpark that you played in?
Ooh, that's a good question. Very tough question. I would probably say Fenway or Wrigley, as it's just the atmospheres, the history is
Mm,
crazy. My favorite city to go to, if I had to pick city, would be Seattle or Colorado. Just love the
yeah,
like the outdoors life and everything.
yeah, that's
But
awesome.
ballpark, Wrigley or Fenway.
Yeah, that's awesome. Last question, man. Where can people find you on your social media and your podcasts and other places?
Yeah, so Instagram it's at bgeyer5. Everywhere else I think it's at Brandon Geyer. My website brandongeyer.com. I think that's it. BG at brandongeyer.com
Yeah,
for email. But yeah, reach
let's
out. I would
go.
love to. I'm here to, like you mentioned earlier, I'm just trying to impact as many players with the mindset and kind of like you're doing, just trying to do our part, man, right?
That's it.
We've been through so much, how can we give back and from the road we've been with and try to help others as they go through it. So
Hey, you know
appreciate
it
you
right
having
on
me
the
on,
head.
man.
Yeah, dude. Well, I appreciate it, guys. You got to go check this guy out and his social medias. He posts on there mental tools as well. So, Brandon, thanks for coming on, man. It's a pleasure always, and looking forward to what's next in your life and what how many people that you impact. But also, just I'm here if you need me, and I know vice versa as well.
Yeah, yeah, likewise, man. I wish you all the best. Hopefully, I can see you play this year.
Let's go. Let's
But I
go.
know the season's starting up soon. So all the best this year, and can't wait to see what you do in the future. You've
Let's
already
go.
impacted, inspired so many. I know it's going to get into the thousands, hundred thousands, millions of by the time you're done, man. So
Hey,
keep up the
all
great
God's
work.
plan. Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate it, man. I'll talk soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
See you, brother.
Bye.